A Spalding County mother and father face decades behind bars in another horrifying case of child abuse discovered in Georgia.
But before their guilty pleas last week, more disturbing details emerged in court of neglect and starvation. Two witnesses testified. They urged the state's child welfare agency not to allow Krista and Tyler Schindley to adopt children. But the adoption went through anyway. Fox 5 I-Team reporter Johnny Edwards reported on the state's handling of two child death cases last year. He's here now with a deeper look at what went wrong in the Schindley case in Spalding County. Johnny?
Well, Russ and Courtney, prosecutors tell me this one could have easily been a death case too. But a 10-year-old boy managed to escape from a home where he was being starved and tortured. Prosecutors also told me about how easily this abuse might have been prevented.
It's okay. You all right?
In this police body cam video, take a look at the boy sitting on the ground. He's 10 years old, weighs 37 pounds, and authorities say just escaped a house of horrors.
What's going on? You don't want to be there?
With his own parents trying to kill him, his adoptive parents.
It was child torture. They beat him, they starved him.
Last week, Krista and Tyler Schindley opted to cut their criminal trial short, pleading guilty to all charges, including cruelty to children, false imprisonment, and attempted murder. The judge sentencing both parents to 40 years in prison plus 20 years on probation. Just before the sentencing, some testimony that raised even more questions about already unthinkable crimes.
We recommended against the adoption to the state.
In 2020, 3 years before the boy's escape in 2023, the Schindleys had adopted the boy and his 4 younger siblings, who were 2 sets of twins. A Henry County school counselor told the court before sentencing she didn't think the Schindleys should be allowed to adopt the boy, and she told that to the State Division of Family and Children's Services, which oversaw the adoption.
Did you express concerns about his adoption to DFACS? Yes, numerous times.
What alarmed her? The boy coming to school with only scraps for lunch, forbidden to eat school lunch. And this.
Ms. Schindley expressed that she only wanted the kids, the sisters, the twins, and he was being forced on her.
But even more extraordinary, the faith-based foster care agency that recruited the Schindleys and paired them up with the children says it also told DFACS the Schindleys weren't fit to adopt any children.
There were some concerns from the child that maybe he didn't feel safe.
Families for Families contracts with the state to recruit and support foster families. But Director Wayne Noggle said the agency walked away from the adoption, pulling the family's foster home license.
We got to a place as an agency that we did not feel that we could continue to support the adoption anymore. The state basically just reopened the home underneath their name, and then we were completely out of the case.
What came out in court begs the question, how were the Schindleys allowed to adopt the boy, or any of the children for that matter? It's hard to say because adoption records are sealed. We tried talking to DFACS about this case, but the agency wouldn't comment, citing state and federal privacy laws. DFACS also confirming no employee faces disciplinary action over this case. Guess who else couldn't access adoption or early DFACS records? The district attorney who put the Schindleys away. Do you know if the judge who signed off on the adoption was aware of any of this?
It's sealed, so we don't know. That's something we tried to look into, but it's sealed.
Marie Broder and Chief Assistant DA Catherine Leonard said they're aware of 3 DFACS investigations, all involving food, and all apparently declared unfounded by DFACS. They also learned about the horrors the boy endured. Kept locked in his room, the windows screwed shut and covered with film. Fed rotten vegetables, forced to eat outside, forced to take ice-cold baths, struck with a belt. His own biological siblings, who were 3 and 4 years younger, encouraged to take part in abuse with the parents.
There was one incident that the children recounted that they threw a hot dog in the pool, and so he was fighting, drowning to try to get to that hot dog, and they all stood by the pool laughing at him.
Noggle told us what probably drove the adoption going forward, despite the red flags, a shortage of foster families, and DFACS wanting to keep the siblings together.
And I think this ought to be a wake-up call to our churches and to our communities, that instead of pointing the fingers when these things happen, we ought to be looking saying, what can we do to help? How good would it be that if one family came up and there was a concern about the family adopting, and the state had 5 other people that wanted to adopt 5 kids?
Now, we also weren't able to see the criminal case file. The DA's office and police declined to release it, saying the Schindleys might still appeal their sentences. Wayne Noggle says if anyone wants to take up his call to foster children or lend help, he can be reached through the Families for Families website. We'll post a link on our website. And Russ and Courtney, he also said that if he had other options for these kids, he might have taken a stronger stand against this adoption with the state.
Wow. I hear what he's saying about not pointing fingers, but this should not have happened to that little boy. And he shouldn't have been in that house. Do we know how he got out?
Through a gate and a wooden privacy fence. The DA tells me that he had been left at home alone, and even though he was very near to death, he managed to get to this gate, and one of the other children had left it unlocked or not locked it fully or completely, and he was able to get over the fence partially, maybe stand on something and manipulate it from the other side and open it up and get to freedom. The DA called it sheer will to live.
Yeah, clearly. I'm just so glad he found a way to escape. I hate to think about what would have happened if he hadn't found a way out.
Well, he probably would not be with us, and this would be a death case, and ironically, the records would be open. I'm, in a way, sort of glad they're not, that he's still alive.
Yeah. All right. Johnny, thanks.
Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you.